guys, Kat here. Welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing my October wrap-up part 1 because tomorrow is the start of Spookathon, and then on one of the last days of Spookathon is the 24-hour Dewey's Readathon, and then after that is the Autumn Readathon. So this is my review for all the books that I'm reading before the madness begins. And it's a madness that I'm totally excited for, but I just figured I would get the books that I have read before then out of the way because the wrap-up at the end of the month will be pertaining to books that fall within those 3 readathons. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first book that I read this month was Wild by Hannah Moskowitz. So a while ago I read Teeth by Hannah Moskowitz and it was amazing, so I had to check out another of her books. So in Wild we follow Zach. He is a boy who is struggling with a lot of different things at the same time. So his mother has a form of Alzheimer's that degenerates very, very quickly, and he is caring for her as well as his 12-year-old sister, who is struggling to get good grades at school and has also come out as a lesbian, and through all of this is trying to also train for an ultra marathon. The person who has been by his side the whole time is his longtime online girlfriend named Jordan. And the thing about Jordan is that she is deaf. The great thing about this book was the portrayal of the deaf community, and when I looked online it said that the way that Moskowitz portrays the deaf community was really well done, and also it taught me so much about the deaf community and I really recommend it. There were just so many things that blew my mind. So if you are interested in the deaf community or about ultramarathon races or just about a really sweet YA story, then I think that I would really recommend this book for you. So I gave it 4 stars. Okay, so moving on. The next book I read was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. So before I read this book I was a bit hesitant because I'd heard it was kind of for the boys. It didn't have a great portrayal of women, and that the 80s pop culture references would just inundate you if you weren't familiar with them. So I was hesitant going into this book, but I was so into it. So yes, there are so many 80s references. There are just a deluge. But the thing is, he would mention them and then he would give a little tiny bit of information about them so that if they're pertinent to the story, you are well versed and you can continue on with your life. Or if he doesn't mention them, then like they never come up again and they're not important. So I think that his framing of all of the 80s bits was really well done. And the story itself was really cool. I mean, obviously it's like really, really cool. So in this world, a famous man has died, and he was the creator of the online reality called the Oasis. And when he dies, basically he left an Easter egg, which is like a treasure. And if you can find it after finding 3 keys, then you inherit his kingdom. So you inherit the online Oasis and you also get all of his money. But the trick is that it is so difficult that it has been years and years and no one has even found the first clue. So enter Wade, a boy who lives in the stacks, which are essentially stacks of trailer homes on each other because space is limited and the world is having problems with like energy and jobs and everything is kind of just fallen apart. And Wade is one of the Gunthers, who is basically a egg hunter. He's really into the world of finding the eggs and finding the keys, and things go from there. So I gave this book 4 stars overall because the story itself is really cool and I was so into it. And the 80s references, I didn't get a lot of them, but anything that was anime or music related I got, especially the anime, because I'm a huge like anime fan. So it was like so cool. Oh my god, and one of my favorite movies of all time was a major like element in this book, so I was just like, oh my god, yes. Like this is basically like a love letter to fandoms, especially 80s fandoms. So if you are an 80s kid or if you like stuff from the 80s, music, pop culture, video games, anime, movies, you will probably like this book. The reason I gave it 4 stars and not any higher is because of the development of the villains in this book. I thought was really like poorly done. So the adventure part was really cool, but the other side of it, the development of the villains and also building some suspense, a little bit of higher story building, I would have liked to see. So I gave it 4 stars overall, but I really recommend it if you are into any of the fandoms that I mentioned previously, or if you're just looking for a really interesting, entertaining read where like every new adventure and every new part of the story that comes up, you're like, wow, that is flipping cool. I would love to do this myself. I would fail because I don't play video games, but oh my god, yeah, it's just really cool. And I cannot wait for the movie, which comes out next spring. So yeah, highly recommend, 4 stars. Okay, and the next 2 books I read are in the same series, and they are Akira by Katsuhiro Otomo. Akira is an anime classic, and the anime is actually based on the manga, but actually when you read the manga you find out that a lot of elements are different, and it kind of fleshes out the backstories of the characters more. I gave both of these 4 stars. This is Akira 1, and this is Akira 2. A huge bomb went off in Tokyo, and now in the future it is Neo-Tokyo. And you follow a boy named Canada, who is the leader of his motorcycle gang. As it opens, they're just kind of dicking around, and they're taking pills, and they're racing their motorcycles through like the slums and through like the heart of the destruction where the bomb went off. And then one of the other members of the gang, Tetsuo, is gonna crash into a child. So he swerves his bike and he gets in an accident, and he's taken by the government, and it turns out that the child is also kind of a government experiment. So things go from there. I think that the writing style of the panels is really good. Like the showing of especially motion is really, really well done. And I can understand why this book is so popular and why it was made into a movie. The reason why they get 4 stars is because the main character and actually all of the characters are complete dicks. Maybe they're gonna do like a character arc where he started out being like flippant and an a-hole, and then by the end maybe he'll be like better. But as it stands right now, just from the first 2 volumes, I'm like, wow, you're a piece of trash. You can go throw yourself away right now. And Tetsuo, his friend, is like the utter worst. I had some problems with the main characters and feeling like empathy, and like when they're in danger, I'm not like, oh my god, watch out. I'm more like, I mean, if you die, we can always switch point of views. I will probably read the ones after this just because I'm really interested in how the manga is totally different than the anime. So I recommend them. They do have some problems, but overall I think they're just the originals of what we see in manga these days. And the last book I read this month was The Chrysalids by John Wyndham. And this book deals with a community where the chance of breeding true is less than 50%. This book follows a main character who realizes that he himself has a deviation, but one that isn't physically apparent. So he is struggling to come to terms with what is right and what is wrong. I gave it 4 stars overall just because the ending, like in the last 30 pages, it just, I know there's a lot of argument about whether what happens in the end is Deus Ex Machina, but I think it is, and I hate that. And I wish like something else had happened. And actually when I read the end of this book, I was like, oh my god, there must be a second one. There isn't. Like, what? So don't let the bad cover put you off. It is a short little read, 200 pages. If you're looking for something that is really thought-provoking, I think, and really well written, it's my first book by John Wyndham, but I will be reading more because I think he's a really good writer. Then yeah, check it out. That finishes up my October wrap-up part 1, and thanks so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing October and you're getting into the Halloween spirit. And I will say bye for now. See you! Bye!